Hello everyone, my name is Eric, and today I want to talk to you about the infamous, the most confusing, and sometimes the most sought after cigar vitola there is. I'm speaking of none other than the Lancero. You are watching Oakland Tobacconist. If you're interested in the freedom fighter Lancero by Cigars or several other boutique brands that might have Lanceros, check us out, you know where to find us. Please do not forget to make certain that you like and comment and subscribe. Make certain you hit the bell so you're alerted every time we produce new content. I want to talk to you today about a very confusing shape that is the Lancero. And to kind of give you as a visual aid, I have the Freedom Fighter Lancero by Cigars. This might get a little confusing because originally when we introduced this brand to the OGT cigar community, it was actually in a 6x54 box press Toro, and it was called the Bloody Knuckle. Sports a Brazilian Modafina wrapper, Nicaraguan fillers. It was voted cigar number 2 by all of you not so long ago. And one of the original versions is the Lancero size, but oftentimes I'll either get requests or remarks about Lanceros. Why don't we see this more often in retail shops? Well, there is a very good reason for it. One that maybe you've heard of before, or perhaps that might be surprising to you. So I want to kind of jump into why aren't Lanceros in every single shop across America? Well, first off, Lanceros are defined by their size. It's a name that was given to a particular vitola. Where did that come from? After delving into a few elements and kind of doing a small bit of research, the concept of a Lancero is a Cuban shape that originally came from Cohiba. Manufactured as the El Laguito No. 1 in the Cuban cigar factory, this was around 1960s. And it was clearly defined by its thin shape. And while you're going to get varying degrees of this like vitola, its dimensions, I've seen some that they call themselves a Lancero and they're 6.5 inches long. There's some that's 7, most commonly 7 or 7.5. It seems like what's held as the true Lancero size is 7.5 inches long with a 38 ring gauge. I've also seen Lanceros, or purported ones, that are 42 gauge, 40 gauge, but normally 38 and 40 is normally what you're going to find, and about 7 inches to 7.5. This one here is a 7x40, but what makes this rather interesting is that it is a box press. Lanceros are not the easiest things to roll. In fact, they're somewhat difficult. Because of that thin gauge, you want to make certain you get a draw. The cigar heads, the cigar nerds, are always clamoring for a Lancero. They want a Lancero size. Even people like Steve Saka at Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust hate the concept that he just wanted to make a Lancero and forget about it because he didn't want to hear any more about the Lancero shape. However, why is it sought after so much? That is because of that thin gauge and supreme flavor you get from a Lancero size. That supreme flavor is due to the fact that you have smaller amount of fillers. As I've heard some blenders say, the true version of it, the essence of a cigar, is in the Lancero because you can't hide. You can't hide behind extra filler, you can't hide behind extra gauges. You're using it just its purest form. You're rolling it to a point to where it can still draw, but a thinner amount of wrapper leaf, a smaller amount of filler leaf, then you have that binder and then the wrapper leaf. That smaller ring gauge brings you more wrapper to filler ratio because it's not being drowned out by so much filler in the tobacco. Sometimes that works really well. In terms of the Freedom Fighter, I absolutely love the flavor that comes from this. It's very rich, a little peppery up front, sweet, leathery as it continues on, a touch bit of creaminess and dark espresso. However, if this is the original size, and we really introduced the Freedom Fighter into the cigar community of OGT, how come we didn't go with the Lancero? Well, I will say on one front, I do really love the 6x54 flavor. I absolutely love it. I feel like that particular size works. You get that richness that's in here as well, but a bit more power behind it. And I liked how that really came out. So first off, as a standalone, that blend's fantastic. I did not choose the Lancero because on top of that flavor note that's different, at the same time, it's not the wide cast net of what people want. If the vast majority of people really wanted them, you'd see them in more shops. Unfortunately, the sad truth is when people ask, hey, I want to see a Lancero, typically they pick up a 4-pack or a 5-pack. It's not the most common to see an entire box purchased. That being said, I really enjoy cigars. I love cigars. I realize I'm somewhat of the outlier sometimes. I did buy several boxes of Lanceros when I was a consumer before a retail shop owner. I absolutely love them. But unfortunately, it's not the most popular, so they tend to sit on the shelf of a retail shop. On top of that, not all Lanceros are created equal. And that being is that you cannot always get a good draw. It doesn't always stay lit. Sometimes it can be a little bit temperamental and difficult to work with. I am very particular when it comes to certain Lanceros I bring into the shop. Freedom Fighter Lancero performs brilliantly, great flavor, so I did bring it in. I still will always have a soft spot for that 6x54. I feel like the overall atmosphere it creates is my #1 pick, but this is a close second. Things like the Lollybella Lancero from Black Star Line is also a favorite of mine. There's been certain like whispered drops we had limited of like the Clowncero that was dropped several years ago. Some of them that just rise above and really enrich that flavor and that smoking experience. But some people may have reservations with smoking such a thin ring gauge. While it's thin, while it looks small, it still has a really good smoke time. So, what is your opinion on Lanceros? Do you love them or can you do without them? Drop it down in the comments. Which do you prefer, a Lancero or not to Lancero? Personally, if you haven't tried the Freedom Fighter Brazilian Mata Fina by Shafio, it's one of my top Lanceros that I have smoked. Absolutely enjoy it. Love it. Great sweetness. Thank you again for watching, and I would love to hear your opinions on Lanceros. My name is Eric, and you have been watching Oakland Tobacconist.